what's going on right now in the world, it's like what's going on in Singapore for that matter, is that a lot of people are finding it very, very difficult to get jobs. And most of us are very highly educated. So there is something wrong with the balance already. There's something wrong. Everybody is chasing after degrees and they're missing out on something else that is very, very valuable also, which is the life skills. And I feel that one very, very important life skill is actually storytelling, because with storytelling, you would be able to tell anyone anything you want, as long as you've got the basics, as long as you understand how to tell a story, what to say, what goes through your mind. Like, so it's a very, very good skill to have on top of all your academic achievements, especially for children right now, especially now knowing that it's so difficult to get a job, even with very, very good education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Breaking Silos Collective, where we show you why breaking silos matters and how you can do it. My name is Sophia, and today we have Kimberly Desker from Kingdom Kreations, and we're
Hello.
gonna talk about. Oh yeah, hi Kim.
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about Kim's new book that she's written. Actually, we're gonna talk about two books, but primarily this one, Blooming for Girls, which I think is a great resource for if you have young girls at home. And I actually like this one. It's called Connected, a communication skills textbook journal for parents. I'm a new parent, so I think these two will be really handy. But more importantly, we're talking about the importance of interpersonal skills and soft skills. And Kimberly is the right person to be talking about this because she does this for a living. Kimberly is a writer, performer, MC, arts facilitator, preschool enrichment teacher, which is all basically talking about the same thing, which is enhancing interpersonal skills. I'll just tell you a bit more about Kimberly. Kimberly believes in effective communication as an essential tool in life, which I personally myself believe is important as well. And this belief has led her to establish strong foundations for lifelong learning in children through interpersonal skills. Kimberly has been a preschool enrichment teacher since 2008, as I mentioned, and she's been teaching subjects varying from speech and drama, visual arts to STEAM. And since starting Kingdom Kreations in 2017, Kimberly has dedicated much of her time to researching the social and emotional skills for children. In 2020, she started Kingdom Kreations Communication Academy to equip anyone with essential life skills. And particularly, I think her focus these days has been on young children and young girls, particularly, which is taking off from oops, wrong book, taking off from this book. I
That's
will be
right.
talking more about that. So yeah, Kimberly Desker, thank you for coming on and sharing your experience
Thank
with us.
you. Thank you for
Yeah,
having me over here.
thank you. Maybe actually I should also mention how
Mm.
Kimberly and I met. Shout out for the Fempreneurs program, which Kimberly was
Yeah.
part of, and I
Mhm.
had the privilege of being her mentor. So
That's right.
Huda, if you're watching this is for you. So yeah, Kimberly was part of Fearless Fempreneurs program, which I helped to be her mentor, and I think she had a great starting point with all her ideas and of what she wanted to do, and all I did was just like guided her here and there, but it wasn't much because she already had what she wanted to do. And
Ah.
obviously Huda and the Fempreneurs Academy did a lot to guide you guys along the way. So, but okay, anyway, let's get back to
You were definitely a great mentor. You really did
oh,
help me
right.
through. Yes, thank you.
I'm glad that
Thank you so
I
much.
was of some use. Yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
maybe Kimberly, just maybe you could let people know a bit more about yourself, and given that you enjoy writing, I see you do quite a bit of poetry. You do
Mm.
performing. You're a performer. You do MC stuff, art, facilitating arts programs, and so forth. What inspires you to do all this work? And yeah, why choose this? And yeah, tell us a bit more about. That's
I think
your
about
life.
the
Yeah.
yeah, I think about the entertainment aspect. It came mostly from passion from young. So, let's take it all the way back to primary school. My primary school had a symphony band, so my love for music kind of grew from there. And as it grew, I also began to explore a lot of different areas of performing. So, in terms of my career choices, it really did stem from the very, very beginning in primary school. So, that's when I was very into music. I started to branch out to do a little bit of drama, a little bit of dance, and then finally hosting, which is very, very strange for me because I think hosting should have come more naturally, should have started earlier, but I only got into hosting much later on in my career. Yeah, so that's the beginning part of the entertainment portion of what I've done in the past. So I was also with the music and drama company. That's also the very first point, the starting point of my career, where I did a lot of shows locally as well as internationally.
Oh,
I actually
nice.
danced in Russia.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
and
Cool. Was this modern
for
dance or what sort of
it was kind of like traditional dances. We did the Chinese, Malay, the Indian dance, as well as a little bit of like some Eurasian styles also, I think. I'm not sure what you would call it, but it was a fusion of all the different races. We had the different costumes, the ethnic costumes as well, with the SAF band. So it's a
oh,
military tattoo in
interesting.
Russia. Yeah.
Cool.
After that, I did a lot more school shows. I was very involved in the primary, secondary school with glee kind of concept. So it's like singing and dancing kind of shows. And then that branched into speech and drama. So like when I was teaching, like when I first thought, the very, very first time was speech and drama was when I was 16. And that was as a
Hmm.
teacher's assistant. But my first time teaching independently and becoming a curriculum developer was for traditional art. So it's like watercolors, doing painting and those kind of arts. Because at that point, my background, my educational background was in graphic design.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of my pivotal points in my life was due to passion. So I would do teaching because it was available at that time. And then, oh, something comes up. There's an audition for this. I'm gonna go for it. So I tend to move with the waves, so with the flow of the water very, very fluently.
Oh, that, I
Yeah.
mean, that's good. I mean, you're adaptable, and we need that, in especially now, right? We need to
Yeah.
adapt to change, and but for across all the stuff that you've done,
Mhm.
which of those would you find that you've enjoyed the most?
I really did enjoy performing. Like I took it through most of the years, every single year, because I do most freelance work. Every single year, I would definitely have a performance kind of show or performance kind of work to do. So it didn't just necessarily have to be singing or just dancing. It was a variety of all. So whatever it was, I loved being on stage. I loved holding a mic. I loved performing in general. Teaching, definitely, I
Okay.
do love
Hmm.
teaching. It's a different kind of experience, a different kind of feel as also. But when I'm teaching, I also feel like it's kind of like a performance. You're putting up a show for the children, and that's how I get them very engaged and very interested in what we're teaching, or that point of subject, for that matter.
And
Yeah.
I mean, since you've been at speech and drama, that would be with schools, and then performing, be a wider public, and emceeing. You obviously have a range of clients that you have to engage with. What's your experience with that, and what have been the challenges in engaging them?
Well, the way we engage, or the way I engage the different clients or your different audience, it definitely has to be different. You have the older adults, for example. We do charity shows also. So maybe if we go to an old folks home, the way we entertain this group of people is definitely very different from the way you entertain a group of young adults, very different from the way you entertain a group of children. So adapting to these different styles, it was definitely very fun, but it was also very enriching in the sense that you get to connect with the different kind of people. You get to understand how they feel, what makes them laugh, what makes them have fun, what they enjoy also. So,
having to do that means there's a lot of emphasis on interpersonal skills and that soft skills of how do you engage older folks, how do you, vis-a-vis how do you engage a more professional client,
mm-hmm.
vis-a-vis a kid, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Especially while
that's
emceeing for me, I feel that
mhm,
especially when I'm on stage emceeing, especially when you have to interact with the audience or you have to pull somebody up, it's very difficult. Like some people think that it's very easy. Just ask them the question, get them to answer. They're just gonna answer,
no,
but it's not that simple.
yeah,
Everybody, yeah, it's not that simple. You gotta get people comfortable. You gotta make them comfortable on stage. That's
yeah,
the first thing.
yeah.
Not everybody is what's the word? Everybody,
Forthcoming. I
every
mean, they'll freeze up, and you definitely
yeah.
as an MC can't freeze up yourself, right?
So it's
Yeah,
always being one step ahead, and being
yeah,
one step ahead is actually knowing or trying to understand how they're feeling in the moment of time. So you kind of
right.
anticipate their answers, kind of figure out your next steps because of their body language, because of what they're saying, whether they're saying enough, whether not they're not saying anything at all.
Yeah.
You kind of have to figure that out as an MC, as a performer.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
just did very basic emceeing for, in my workplace last time, but it was mostly very scripted because it was one of those very,
Mm.
academic or, formal kind of events where they don't want anything out of the blue. So it's just like, introducing people. So it was very scripted, whereas yours is more dynamic, more impromptu, and it's really depending on the crowd's reactions. So yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely takes a lot of skill and a lot of practice, which it comes. I think part of it also comes with knowing how to engage people, and I think especially when kids are now just on their iPads and iPhones, they're not actually talking to people and not actually practicing those skills, which makes to me it seems co-curricular activities and enrichment activities like yours even more important in this day and age.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if I compare it with the other lessons that I have taught, where it's more academia. For example, like tuition subjects, English, math, and science. Those are the subjects that I have taught, as compared to storytelling, creative writing, and maybe public speaking. Um, it's very, very different skills. It's a very different need. So a lot of parents, I would think, would actually go for tuition, send their kids go for tuition instead of for these little life skills that are for their children. When I feel that life skills like storytelling, like public speaking, and creative writing is also, if not more, important for
Oh,
the future.
absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely agree. I mean, a degree or a piece of paper can take you it's just that it's a piece of paper. It's how
That's
you how you perform in an interview, whether
right. Hmm.
how much you listen. It's not just about you talking, but communication is a two-way process. It's how you listen to people and what are you absorbing from what they're saying and how you respond. It's a lot of these kind of soft skills. It's not something you can read from a book. It's just not theoretical. It's just all in practice, which is so important. It reminds me of an incident back in, what was this, 2010. Yeah, 2009. I was on this leadership program in the US with some other Singaporeans. I was the oldest, but the rest were slightly younger. They were still in university, all very
Mm.
smart people, in NUS and NTU, and they were on this leadership program with me. And what I did find, I mean, they may very book smart, but the street smart and social awareness was a bit lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
I could definitely see the difference between them and, say, the participants who were from the Pacific Islands, where they were a lot
Yeah.
more street smart, a lot more hands-on, and see, very operative basically. And when you're
Yeah.
walking up down the a street in San Francisco in the like late evening, I think you should be a bit more aware of your surroundings. But these younger folk were just everywhere, and like made me think, oh my god, please don't. You gotta know where you are and be more situationally aware, and yeah, know where
Mm.
how to behave in certain contexts, which I think might be
Yeah.
lacking when you're not exposed enough to different people, or different settings.
In
Yeah.
today's context, it's a little bit different. A lot of things is online, so a lot of our younger generations, their lives are mostly online. But that doesn't mean the threats are not there. I mean, there's a lot of scams going around. I mean, recently the
Oh my
OCBC
God.
one,
Yeah.
yeah, that's quite a big one. But if you are aware, or if you have the skills, the life skills or the interpersonal skills, I think maybe there is a chance that you would be more aware of what these people are after. But it's a
Okay.
very touchy situation, very very tricky, because there are some scams that can become so personal too,
Yeah, that's true. That is
very
true.
very personal. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I mean, I think that's one part, but also that digital literacy. Yeah, which is something that I'm working on, and I'm actually developing a course around digital literacy, but more of that later on, akan datang.
Mm.
But yeah, but maybe you could let us talk about what have been the challenges in pursuing these professional goals that you've had. What are the challenges in teaching, perhaps students, or what, or adding to that, what have been the challenges that you see from your students, and how have you helped to overcome those problems?
When I was teaching more than I was doing performance, I was around the kids very, very often. So a lot of times, and these were preschool kids at that moment when I was teaching preschool enrichment. So I would go to different schools every day, sometimes two schools in a day. So there was a variety of kids from different schools. And I was teaching science. I was teaching science and I was teaching robotics also on top of speech and drama. But no matter what the subject, it seemed that the kids, they were able to be very obedient. They can follow instructions. They can do whatever the teacher asks. But when it comes to them expressing themselves, always about the end objective. So, for
Not the
example, if you're
process.
doing science, yeah, not the process. So it's speech and drama alone. Yeah, we always have the show at the end of the year. So at that time, maybe like 2 years ago, it was all digital shows. It was like video taken shows, pre-recorded or things like that. So it was way easier for the teachers to do, but a show nonetheless. So it was never about the process. It was never really about what the kids were going to learn. You always say speech and drama, you're going to learn how to be confident, you're going to stand on stage, you're going to be able to speak and everything like that. But teaching it and learning with the children, I just realized that they were just going through the motions, memorizing the words, making it um, a habit to memorize, so they know fluently what the next word is, which is fine, which is great. They can recite their lines by memory. But that was as far as it went. There was no development of their own characteristics. You don't know how they felt so much, or you don't know what they were thinking.
I think it speaks to the broader education system in a sense, or even the workplace, where it's always about
Mm,
KPIs. What's the result? Get the results,
mm-hmm,
right? You're not thinking about the process, right? In a way, that's also, in a way, it kind of like conditions us to think like you got to succeed, or and you can't be a failure. Whereas
mm,
actually in life, especially like in entrepreneurship or in anything, you gotta have a few failures before you actually succeed. And just because you fail, it's not the end game. It's actually a,
mm.
like it's a lesson learned. You have to fall before you actually walk, right? So that's a really important point you mentioned, where appreciating the process
The
is
process,
as
that's right.
important as the result. Actually, even perhaps more important than the result. um I mean, you can see how some kids. I remember one friend from secondary school. She was
Mm,
studying so hard. I mean, she's really smart, but I think she just didn't get an A1. I think she got an A2 or B3 for her subject, and she broke down terribly. It was like, that's the end of the world for her. I mean, of course,
mm.
people have expectations, but it's like that you're not giving yourself that
Yeah.
self-love and respecting yourself, that you've done quite a lot. um
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I think that's something that kids
Mm-hmm.
definitely need to learn
Well,
more of.
it's a
And
it's a similar thing with speech and drama, for example.
mhm.
if we're talking about the end product, the end show, and then we have a child who comes up and then completely forgets all of his or her lines, that doesn't mean she wasn't doing well in class. She could have been great in class. That's why she had a solo. That's why she's having this speech. But things happen, things change. So you can't really define a child's character or development based on that one test or that one
Exactly.
show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely like enrichment classes such as yours give kids the tools and the means to understand how to be more prepared, or rather more resilient, and more adaptable to situations. How do you adapt to different situations? How do you adapt to changes? How do you cope with failure, or not, things not going your way? How do
Mm-hmm.
you engage with people that you're not familiar with, and that having that compassion element, especially for something you're not familiar with, or somebody you're not familiar with, that's the starting point. Having compassion, having empathy with people
Mm-hmm.
who you may not agree with, or may not know anything about. I think that would definitely give a lot more hardware to society, which sometimes we're lacking. And I mean hardware as in heart, heart,
Yeah.
not just hardware
Right.
and software. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, let's talk a bit more about the book Blooming for Girls, a comprehensive guide to blooming for girls. Tell us a bit more about it. I mean, quite a bit from what I've read or what you've told me, and what I've read a bit is the challenges, touching on the challenges that young girls face as they grow up, and in their development. Can you talk a bit more about that,
Mm.
about the book, and how you start, why
Uh,
you decide to do such a book?
yeah. I like to always start, or like whenever I introduce myself, I always say that I'm a mother first. So I'm a mother of three and a mother of two girls. So my eldest girl is currently in primary three, and she's going through a lot of changes, and she has a lot of questions. And some of the questions may be very difficult to answer, especially in that moment, in that point of time, or in that surrounding. Sometimes you're surrounded by a lot of people, and she asks a very uncomfortable question. I don't necessarily want to talk to her about it at that point in time. So it's always like, I'll talk to you later. But that later might never come. She might forget that question. She might not remember what we were talking about before, also. So, why I came up with the book is because I know that she would definitely have questions. I mean, I had questions. I'm sure every one of us, grown women, also had questions that we never really had the answers to. So, I got started with this book over here, to give her some of the answers. Not all the answers, some of the answers, because I still want her to come to me and to talk to me about the things, the changes that she is going through.
And I
Mm-hmm.
noticed it is basically a guide with
Mm-hmm.
covering very comprehensively all the different kinds of issues or things that girls need to know as they're going through puberty. And and it's, people say, okay, the internet is there, we can look it up. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff you don't want your kids to be seeing on the internet. And when it comes
That's
to
right.
these sort of things, you want to make sure that they're getting the right resources. I think this is
That's
a
right.
very good starting point for them
Mm-hmm.
to know, and then from there to ask to have a chat with their parents, uh, and or then you know then go on to find more online when they need to. But this is definitely a very good starting point. Uh,
Yeah. So, what I do is I leave her with the book, and then sometimes I ask her, "Hey, have you read the book? Like, which part is your favorite? What do you find interesting, or do you happen to have any questions that you want to ask me? Things like that." So I'd ask her, and it's very nice to see that she actually does take the book and she opens it up from time to time to refer. Yeah, it's quite cute to see her do that also. So the book is mostly meant for the girls. They're like 6 years old all the way until about 14 years old. For
yeah, right.
reference. For reference.
And
Yeah.
I can see your graphic
Mhm.
design talent coming in. It's a very colorful and
Yeah.
attractive book, especially for girls. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of
Mm-hmm.
visuals, very easy reading, and straight to the point about issues that girls need to know about. And more importantly, is about them being comfortable in their own skin. It's not about saying you have to use makeup or you have to look a certain way, but actually be yourself. And if you're having a pimple or acne, that's just life. Part of it is just having a healthy lifestyle. Don't Very simple and easy to do tips which are necessary.
Yeah,
um,
I think like the whole part about the pimples, it's more of understanding why they're getting pimples, understanding that this is happening to them. There's no way of escaping it, you know. And it's okay if they want to wear makeup or not wear makeup, if they want to shave or wax or whichever that is, whether their moms allow them to also, because sometimes parents might not be too happy, as maybe for religious reasons also. Yeah.
mhm.
So there are a lot, this book, like I put it all together, that there are a lot of different ways that they can go about through this difficult time in their life.
I don't see my daughter reading it anytime soon because she's only 4 months, but it's definitely something I would give or recommend to girlfriends
Mm-hmm.
who have, or guy friends who are having kids
Mm.
at that
And I
age.
actually wanted it to be a hard copy. I didn't want it to be a ebook or a
Ebook.
soft copy.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the new craze right now. It's all ebooks, and everything. But a hard copy is such that they can take and they can refer to. They can put little paper notes onto it, and you can refer to it. It's more heartwarming to have, especially to share when you're reading it with a parent also. So this book is what they can take and put under their pillows at night, in secret, if they want to refer to something that they don't want to ask at the moment, they can do that with this instead of
Yeah.
on the phone. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit
Mhm.
about connected. I think personally this is great. You call it a communication skills textbook journal for parents. And I believe this one was also out of your own experience as being a mom and reflecting on what parents
That's
would need, or
yeah.
yeah. I like
Ah.
I like the fact that you included some of your poetry in here, and also that the last part where it's just a space for the parent to write stuff, to reflect on things. Because as
Mhm.
parents we just get so caught up in what to do. There's so many things to do that we forget to even think and reflect on our own growth and
Mhm.
development as well.
Mhm. This was a I think this was written more it was written in a difficult time. you know always
Hmm.
it always comes when you're having trouble. So I was heavily researching how to communicate, how to make things better, and as a communications major also, I thought that it was very important. There's definitely a different way to communicate when it comes to speaking with children and speaking with adults, but the fundamentals, I think they do tend to remain the same, the basics of it. So this particular book is based on the basics of communication. And what I did was, there's, I think, about six chapters in the textbook portion, and the start of every chapter is a fictional story. It's a little fictional story with a little moral,
Hmm.
because I feel that, like, I love fables. I love these kind of stories with a very, very deep moral at the end. So I decided to put morals into these stories. So the first chapter is on self love. We always start with self love because it's very difficult to connect with someone else if you're not sure of who you are yourself. So
Like I tell my friends, you can't love anyone if you don't love yourself first.
yeah. But let me just clarify, because I am not a parenting coach, so I put it over here. This is not a parenting book. I am not a parenting coach. I am an enrichment teacher in communications and in any enrichment subjects.
Right. Yes. Neither,
Yeah.
but you are definitely a person who knows what the importance of communication skills.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these two books are available on your website.
Yeah, it's the two books are on the website, but the books are also tied to some programs. Like the Blooming Girls book is tied to the Growing Girls program, where we will talk about puberty and everything that the girls will go through. Now, before I go forward with the particular program, I also want to say that the Comprehensive Guide to Blooming is not just about body changes. A lot of the chapters, of a lot of the pages, has a very, very heavy emphasis on the changes that are not physical. It's the changes that goes on with their mind, with their emotions, and with their surroundings as well. So I feel that that is often neglected. We know that these body changes will happen, and they know that these body changes will happen. But even growing up, like for myself, I believe that I don't remember being told that, oh, there will be changes in my mind. Like, my mind is still growing. Did you know that your mind is still growing, your brain is still growing all the way until you're like 25? So that was very insightful for me to know that
Mm-hmm.
that's why teenagers have very rash or make very rash decisions. There's a reason for that, but we don't blame them for it. So, as what I want to do over here with this book is to make them aware.
You were saying the program. What was it called again?
The Growing Girls
The Growing
program.
Girls program, which will be launched at
Yeah.
some point, and we will keep people informed when that happens.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's in the process right now. It's tied together with the book, so it's going to be a whole program that would last maybe like it would definitely last a month with 4 Zoom lessons. We'll do it online, and we would go through the different chapters, and we have different journal prompts for you to do on the spot as well. So it's going to be a activity based program based on the Comprehensive Guide to Blooming.
Excellent, excellent. I mean,
Mm.
we'll put the links to your website in the description box later on. So yeah, if folks, if you wanna find out more about Kimberly's books and program, there'll be her link in the description box. Maybe to wrap up, Kimberly, is there anything else you have planned for 2022 and beyond?
On top of the Growing Girls program, we already do have the storytelling program, which I feel is also quite important.
Even the big
Mhm.
companies these days are saying you need to know how to do storytelling. Even the big marketing
That's
companies are
right.
saying you need to do
Mm-hmm.
storytelling. And I have people who do presentations for clients. They're incorporating storytelling. So it's really it's not
Yeah,
just skills for kids. It's skills for anybody.
that's right. I wanted to say something also, like how at like in okay, what's going on right now in the world, it's like what's going on in Singapore for that matter, is that a lot of people are finding it very, very difficult to get jobs, and most of us are very highly educated. So there is something wrong with the balance already. There's something wrong. Everybody is chasing after degrees, and they're missing out on something else that is very, very valuable also, which is the life skills. And I feel that one very, very important life skill is actually storytelling, because with storytelling, you would be able to tell anyone anything you want, as long as you've got the basics, as long as you understand how to tell a story, what to say, what goes through your mind. So it's a very, very good skill to have on top of all your academic achievements, especially for children right now, especially now knowing that it's so difficult to get a job, even with very, very good education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kimberly. Maybe just to, this is a question I ask everybody. What does breaking silos mean to you, and what advice would you give to someone who wants to break silos?
Breaking silos would mean, what it means to me is to make a difference. To make a difference not only to yourself, but to the people that you care about, the people that is surrounding you. For advice to anyone who wants to break silos is to just do it, because you already know that there is something that you want to change, something that you want to make a difference to. And just keeping the thoughts in your head is not going to make the difference. It's not going to make the change. So, any little action moving forward is a step closer to breaking silos.
Heck,
So, just do it.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. I mean, you have people overthinking things all the time and then they end up not doing it. So, yeah.
That's right.
Well, well, thank you, Kimberly, for your time. And for those
Thank
of you
you.
watching, for those of you watching, if you'd like to know more about Kimberly's work, check out her Kingdom Kreations website. I'll put it in the description, and also check out her books that are very good guides for kids growing up and parents. And yeah, and if you like what you've watched, feel free to subscribe to the Breaking Silos Collective channel on YouTube, and to be informed of more upcoming silo breaking content. So from me, Sophia Jamal and Kimberly Desker, thanks for watching. See you.